This is the Saucony Koa TR, and I have a feeling this is going to be my fair weather friend for the trail runs this coming summer. So this is the Saucony Koa TR, and this is one of two shoes that Saucony have in their Koa range. They also have an ST model, and I reviewed that, and I will have the link for that in the details below. But the TR version is more of a shoe designed for the buffed out trails, whereas the ST is all about thick, big, chunky lugs and going through mud. This bad boy has much shallower lugs, so they're not as deep, but a lot more of them. So when you're doing those sort of buffed out runs and you're going from trails to rocks to maybe technical trails where the ground is hard, so you're sort of going around tree roots and things like that, so you don't need the last word in lug depth, if that's a thing. And then you might be going onto some roads, some asphalt, some tarmac, and then back onto trails. And you know, maybe the summer, really. For me, I'm looking at this thinking, yeah, when the weather's not quite as boggy as it is right now, I have obviously been running in it, but I've been finding that these sorts of lugs do not fare well in thick mud. They're not designed to. But it does fare well when you get into firmer ground and you want to transition from road to trail to rocks to whatever. They used to have a shoe called the Nomad, which I think kind of had maybe a slightly polarizing opinion. Some people loved it, some people didn't. This is Saucony, by the way, Saucony Nomad. I'm not saying this is a replacement for that, but do kind of sort of fulfill a similar kind of brief. This thing does run true to size, like its ST brother. It has an oblique toe box for a bit more room for your toes to splay. You've got a sort of synthetic mesh upper, not so much on the overlays, but you still have a decent sort of toe protector there. You've got a plastic heel cup there, plenty of cushioning around the heel there. It's got its Saucony's Ever Run within the midsole, so you've got a layer of that, and then obviously also a layer of your more traditional foam. You're talking a heel to toe drop of 4 millimeters. For a UK size 11, which is what I run, it's 342 grams or 12 1/8 ounces. So what is great and what is not so great about this shoe? Things that I like. Well, I think it's quite a smart trail shoe. I like it because it does sort of look, you immediately tell, okay, this shoe's not for the really rough stuff. But I think from what I've experienced with it so far, I can see me using this for some races that I've got booked in the summer and the spring. I've got a couple of ultras booked, and I think depending on what the weather like as I'm going up to the race, because obviously you want, if it's been pouring down with rain and the course has got chewed up, I might not go with this, but if the weather goes as I hope it's going to go, I think this is going to be a really good choice for those really long runs where you're going to be doing maybe like an ultra, trail marathon, things like that, or shorter runs as well, but where you're going to be transitioning from trail to road, path to rocks to whatever on those hot sunny days, or maybe where it's not rained too much, so therefore the ground is quite buffed out. Then this is actually a really comfortable outsole slash midsole setup, and again also with the upper having this oblique toe box, really comfortable. It does fit true to size, and as soon as I put it on I thought, yeah, this is a really comfortable shoe. As soon as I start moving around in it, you're thinking, yeah, this just feels good. As soon as you start running in it, a couple of people I've heard have said that you kind of need to run these in a little bit. I didn't personally experience that. It just felt good really from the get-go. It just felt like I was running on almost like a slightly more substantial road shoe that was fine transitioning onto buffed out trails, onto sort of grass and things like that, onto some rocks, onto whatever, and then back again, and it would transition really well. So if you know the kind of trail that you're going to be running, and I would say you've kept an eye on the weather and it's not been pouring down with rain and the course hasn't got all chewed up, because then I wouldn't say use this. But if the trail is right, I think this could be a really good option for you, and it's certainly one that I intend to do tons and tons more miles in as the year progresses. And I really got it with that in mind, and the running that I've done thus far in this has cemented my opinion that it's going to be really good for those long races where, as I say, the trail is fairly buffed out and you're transitioning from buffed out trail to rocks to path to whatever. Not gloopy mud though. It also feels a very solid, well-built shoe. Both of the Koa shoes actually feel really well engineered, like they're going to last, they're going to put up with the abuse, so that's great. As I say, super comfy to run in. Yeah, to be honest, it was just a really nice shoe. I kind of had high expectations of what I thought it was going to do, and it met those expectations. I thought, I bet that's going to be good for those buffed out trails, for transitioning, for kind of like a road shoe that can do so much more. Not that I would run just a road marathon or a road race in it. You know, got road shoes for that. But for those races where it's going to transition from different types of services in the fair weather, because I do think this is a fair weather friend, then to be frank, it's met all of my expectations, if not exceeded them slightly. But it's not all movie stars and red carpet premieres. What are the things that may be not so great? Well, I haven't found anything specifically irksome, but as I say, I mean, I know I've harped on about this. I do think that with this grip profile, you do kind of need to keep an eye on the weather or the course and the conditions, so that when you rock up to your race, you know that this is going to be fine, that this is the right grip, the right outsole for you. In other words, if you haven't checked the weather for a while and you rock up with this and it's actually been raining for the last 2 days previous and the course has got all chewed up, you're going to struggle with this. It doesn't have that breadth of abilities that something with deeper lugs, and to be frank, less lugs, because these do get easily filled up with mud and then it becomes overwhelmed. So assuming you've done your homework and you're using it in the right conditions, the conditions, to be frank, for which it was designed for, then it's great. Now I know that's not really a criticism of the shoe, it's just something to be aware of. It's just having the right tool for the right job, and in the right situation, I think this is a really good shoe. And that's why I describe it as a fair weather friend, because I just see in the coming months, when the weather gets a bit better, I'm going to be using this a lot. I've used it a fair bit already, but it's January, the time of filming. Sometimes the weather conditions have just not been suitable for this, and the ground conditions have not been suitable. I think once we get into the spring and the summer, I can see this being my kind of go-to trail shoe when the ground is going to be a bit firmed up. In terms of, is it going to be good for an obstacle course race? I think it's not really what it's been designed for, because there tends to be a fair amount of mud in certain places, and I think, well, I know, having tried it, this thing just becomes very overwhelmed very quickly when there's thick gloopy mud. So you're going to want something a bit more grippy for there. Having said that, if you do one of those sort of inflatable, more easygoing kind of obstacle course races, then I think this would be perfect, because you don't need the last word in grip for those. So in certain situations, I think this is a real good option. It's just, like I said, having the right tool for the right job, or in this case, the right ground conditions. All in all, I'm very happy with this. It's really comfortable. It does exactly what I wanted it to do. It behaves well. It feels supportive. It feels well built. It's everything that I hoped it would be. So it's got to be a 5-star shoe, because I'm very happy with it, and I'm looking forward to doing more and more miles in it. And with that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.